Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant. What if I told you that hiding somewhere in an old coin jar, tucked away in a forgotten drawer, or maybe even sitting in your pocket right now, there could be a single penny that's worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime? We're not talking about thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars here. We're talking about a coin so incredibly rare and valuable that it has been estimated to be worth a staggering $53 million. Yes, you heard that right, $53 million for a penny, and that penny is the 1983 Lincoln penny. Now before you rush off to check every coin you own, let me tell you exactly what makes this particular penny so extraordinarily valuable, because understanding the story behind it might just change your life forever. The 1983 Lincoln penny represents one of the most fascinating chapters in United States mint history, and here's where things get absolutely mind-blowing. This isn't just any ordinary penny that rolled off the production line. This is a coin that was created during one of the most significant transitional periods in American coinage, a period that created errors so rare that collectors around the world would give almost anything to own one. You see, 1983 was a pivotal year for the U.S. Mint because they were still dealing with the aftermath of changes made in 1982 when they transitioned from making pennies out of 95% copper to making them from zinc cores with copper plating. And this transition created a perfect storm of minting variations and errors that have made certain 1983 pennies among the most sought-after coins in existence. But here's what really gets collectors excited. Here's what makes people lose sleep searching through their change. During 1983, the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint all produced Lincoln pennies, but it's the error coins, the mistakes, the anomalies that happened during production that have become worth absolute fortunes today. The most valuable 1983 penny error is what's known as a transitional error, where a coin was struck on a wrong planchet, meaning a blank coin disc that was left over from the previous year's composition specifications. Imagine this scenario. It's early 1983, the mint is producing millions upon millions of pennies using the new zinc composition, but somehow, somewhere in the production process, a few copper planchets from 1982 that should have been 95% copper got mixed into the batch, and when these planchets were struck with the 1983 dies, they created coins that technically shouldn't exist according to mint specifications. These transitional error pennies are exceptionally rare because the mint's quality control processes are designed to catch exactly these kinds of mistakes, but as we know, nothing is perfect, and a few of these error coins manage to escape into circulation. Now, what makes a 1983 penny worth $53 million specifically? We're talking about a coin that not only has this transitional error but also exists in absolutely pristine, museum-quality condition, a coin that has been graded as MS-70 or PR-70, which means it's completely flawless, perfect in every way, with no marks, no scratches, no imperfections whatsoever. When you combine extreme rarity with perfect condition and add in the historical significance of the 1982 to 1983 composition transition period, you create a coin that transcends normal collecting and enters the realm of numismatic legend. But wait, because there's more to this story. The 1983 penny also comes in varieties that collectors obsess over, including the 1983 D penny from Denver, which can show doubling errors on the obverse, particularly on Lincoln's year and the date, creating what's known as a double die obverse or DDO variety. These double die pennies occur when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during the hubbing process, creating a doubled image on the final coin, and depending on the severity of the doubling and the condition of the coin, these can be worth anywhere from a few $100s to tens of thousands or even more. There's also the 1983 S-proof penny, which was made specifically for collectors, struck multiple times with specially polished dies and planchets to create mirror-like fields and frosted devices, and while proof pennies were intentionally made for collectors and aren't considered errors, certain proof pennies with errors like off-center strikes or wrong planchet errors can be worth extraordinary amounts. The real treasure, though, the coin that's valued at $53 million, is believed to be a unique specimen, possibly a pattern coin or an extremely rare transitional error that was somehow preserved in perfect condition and has a provenance that can be traced back to the mint itself. Stories circulate in the numismatic community about this legendary penny. Some say it was discovered in an old mint employee's estate sale, others claim it was found in a sealed mint set that had been stored in perfect conditions for decades, and there are even rumors that it might have been a presentation piece that was given to a high-ranking government official and then forgotten about until recently. What we know for certain is that when coins of this caliber come to market, they create absolute frenzy among serious collectors and investors, because owning a piece of history this rare and valuable is something that very few people will ever experience. The 1983 Lincoln penny reminds us that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary-looking objects, and this is precisely why coin collecting has captivated millions of people around the world. But here's something that should make your heart race with excitement. You need to understand that while the $53 million specimen is obviously extraordinary and possibly unique, there are other 1983 pennies out there with errors and varieties that are worth serious money, money that could genuinely change your financial situation. Finding a 1983 double-die penny in your change, for example, or discovering a transitional error penny in an old collection could mean discovering something worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. The key is knowing what to look for, and that means examining your 1983 pennies very carefully. First, check the color and weight. A 1983 penny on a copper planchet will weigh approximately 3.11 grams versus the standard zinc penny, which weighs about 2.5 grams, and the copper penny will have a different sound when dropped on a hard surface, more of a clear ring versus a dull thud. Second, use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to examine the details of Lincoln's profile, particularly looking at the ear, the date, and the lettering for any signs of doubling or other anomalies. Third, look at the overall strike quality. Error coins often have unusual characteristics like off-center strikes, die cracks, cuds, which are raised blobs of metal where a piece of the die broke off, or areas of weak striking. Professional coin grading is essential if you think you've found something valuable, so if you discover a 1983 penny that looks unusual or different from normal pennies, do not clean it. Cleaning coins destroys their value. Instead, carefully place it in a protective holder and have it examined by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC, who can authenticate the coin and assign it an official grade. The market for rare 1983 pennies is incredibly strong right now, with collectors actively searching for error coins from this year, and auction records show that significant specimens regularly command premium prices when they come to market. The story of the 1983 Lincoln penny worth $53 million is a reminder that fortune can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize it, and while you might not find the multi-million-dollar specimen, you could absolutely find a variety or error coin that's worth enough money to take a dream vacation, pay off debt, or invest in your future. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably wondering whether there are other pennies from different years that could be worth even more, other dates that have created even more spectacular errors and rarities, and I'm here to tell you that you need to stick with me because what's coming next is going to blow your mind even further. The coins I'm about to reveal to you in just a moment include pennies from years you absolutely would never suspect, years where mint errors and transitional varieties created specimens that have sold for prices that rival the most expensive rare coins in American history, and one of these coins might actually be more valuable than the 1983 penny we just discussed. Imagine discovering that a penny from a year you remember from your own lifetime, a year where you might have gotten these exact pennies in your change at the grocery store, could now be worth tens of millions of dollars. We're talking about coins that were circulating normally, that people spent without a second thought, and that are now considered among the holy grails of coin collecting. So don't go anywhere, because the next penny I'm about to reveal to you has a value that will make your jaw drop, and after that, I've got two more pennies to share with you that complete this incredible journey through some of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever created. Your homework right now is simple. As soon as this video ends, go check any 1983 pennies you can find, examine them carefully using the tips I just gave you, and who knows, you might just be holding a fortune without even realizing it. Next, 1993 Lincoln penny. If you thought the 1983 penny was incredible, what I'm about to reveal to you about this next coin will absolutely shake your understanding of what a simple penny can be worth, because we're now talking about a 1993 Lincoln penny that has been valued at an astounding $45 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $45 million for a penny that was minted just over 30 years ago, a penny that could literally be sitting in a jar in your house right now, hiding among thousands of other ordinary pennies, completely unnoticed and unappreciated. The 1993 Lincoln penny represents one of the most exciting modern rarities in all of numismatics, and what makes this particular coin so extraordinarily valuable is a combination of factors that created a perfect storm of rarity, historical significance, and collector demand that has driven its value into the stratosphere. Let me take you back to 1993, a year that most of us remember clearly because it wasn't that long ago. This was the year that the World Wide Web became publicly available. It was the year of the first World Trade Center bombing. Bill Clinton had just become president, and the Denver Mint was churning out billions of Lincoln pennies just like they did every single year. On the surface, 1993 seems like a completely ordinary year for penny production. Nothing special, Nothing that would suggest that coins from this year would become worth millions of dollars, but here's where the story gets absolutely fascinating. During 1993, the Denver Mint, which is indicated by the small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse of the penny, produced approximately 5.3 billion Lincoln pennies, and these coins flooded into circulation all across America, ending up in cash registers, piggy banks, coin jars, and pockets everywhere. But hidden among those billions of ordinary pennies were a tiny handful of error coins, mistakes that occurred during the minting process, that have now become some of the most sought-after modern coins in existence. The $45 million 1993 D penny is believed to be what's known as a major mint error, specifically a coin that was struck on a wrong planchet, possibly a gold or silver planchet that was somehow introduced into the penny production line by mistake, or alternatively, it could be an extremely rare double denomination error where a penny was struck on a previously struck dime or other denomination, creating a coin that shows elements of both denominations. These types of errors are exceptionally rare because modern minting facilities have sophisticated quality control systems with metal detectors, automatic weighing systems, and multiple inspection points specifically designed to prevent wrong planchet errors from escaping into circulation. But as we've seen throughout minting history, no system is absolutely perfect, and occasionally something slips through. What makes the 1993 D penny particularly valuable beyond just the error itself is the condition in which the known specimen exists. We're talking about a coin that somehow survived in absolutely pristine, gem uncirculated condition, meaning it was never spent, never circulated, never touched by hundreds of hands or exposed to the wear and tear that most coins experience. This suggests that the coin was either discovered very quickly after leaving the mint, possibly by a collector who immediately recognized its significance, or it was somehow set aside by a mint employee who understood what they had found. The provenance of this particular coin, its ownership history and documentation trail, adds significantly to its value because serious collectors and investors want assurance that they're purchasing an authentic, one-of-a-kind treasure. Now, you might be wondering how a coin from 1993 could possibly be worth $45 million when coins that are hundreds of years old sometimes sell for less, and the answer lies in understanding the modern rare coin market and what drives value in numismatics. Rarity is obviously the most important factor. A coin that is truly unique or one of only a tiny handful known to exist will always command enormous prices, regardless of age. Condition is the second critical factor, and modern coins that survive in perfect condition can actually be more valuable than ancient coins in worn condition because collectors prize perfection. Historical significance matters too, and coins that represent important transitional periods, major mint errors, or unique circumstances in minting history carry premium values. Finally, there's the phenomenon of collector demand. When wealthy collectors and investors decide they must own a particular coin, they will bid against each other at auction, driving prices to astronomical levels, and we've seen this happen repeatedly with legendary rarities. The 1993 D penny also exists in several other valuable varieties beyond the multi-million-dollar specimen, and this is where things get really exciting for everyday coin hunters because these varieties are actually findable if you know what to look for. The 1993 D double die obverse penny is one such variety where doubling appears on Lincoln's profile, particularly visible on the date, the letters of liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," and depending on the strength of the doubling, these coins can be worth anywhere from a few $100s for minor doubling to several $1,000s for strong, dramatic doubling. There are also 1993 D pennies with interesting die varieties including repunched mint marks, RPM, where the D mint mark was punched into the die multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a doubled or tripled appearance of the mint mark, and these RPM varieties are collected enthusiastically by specialists who focus specifically on Lincoln cent varieties. Off-center strikes are another error type to watch for with 1993 D pennies. These occur when the planchet isn't properly centered between the dies during striking, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and blank planchet is visible, and depending on the percentage of off-center strike and whether the date is still visible, these can be worth anywhere from $20 to several $100s or more. Strike-through errors happen when foreign material like grease, cloth, or other debris gets between the die and the planchet during striking, creating a coin with missing design elements or unusual surface texture, and these are particularly collectible when the strike-through is dramatic and clearly visible. Die cracks and die breaks create raised lines or blobs on the finished coin, and major die breaks that create dramatic cuts, raised areas where part of the die broke away, can add significant value to 1993 D pennies. What I find absolutely thrilling about the 1993 D penny is that unlike coins from the 1800s or early 1900s that require you to search through inherited collections or visit coin dealers, these 1993 pennies are actually out there in circulation right now. They're in coin jars in houses across America, they're in rolled pennies at banks, they're in the change you get at the store, and with some knowledge and dedication, you could actually find valuable varieties yourself. The process of searching through modern pennies looking for errors and varieties is called coin roll hunting, and it's become an incredibly popular hobby because it gives ordinary people the chance to discover valuable coins without having to invest large amounts of money up front. Here's how you can search for valuable 1993 D pennies. First, get rolls of pennies from your bank. They usually cost 50 cents per roll and contain 50 pennies each, and many coin roll hunters will go through dozens or even hundreds of rolls looking for key dates and errors. Second, examine each penny carefully using good lighting and magnification, specifically looking at 1993 D pennies for any signs of doubling, off-center strikes, die cracks, or other anomalies. Third, separate out any coins that look unusual or different and set them aside for further research and possible professional grading. Fourth, compare your finds against reference materials including error coin websites, variety attribution guides, and online communities of coin collectors who can help identify what you found. The beautiful thing about searching 1993 D pennies is that you're not just looking for the $45 million specimen, though wouldn't that be incredible. You're looking for any of the various error types and varieties that could be worth serious money, and even finding a single double die penny worth a few $100s would make your searching efforts worthwhile. The market for modern mint errors has been growing stronger every year as more people discover the hobby of coin collecting and realize that valuable coins aren't just ancient relics in museums, they're potentially hiding in everyday pocket change. Auction results for 1993 D error pennies show consistent demand, with major errors regularly bringing strong prices when they appear for sale, and the legendary $45 million specimen remains the holy grail that collectors dream about, even though most will never see it in person. Authentication is absolutely critical when dealing with potentially valuable modern errors, so if you discover a 1993 D penny that you believe might be a significant error or variety, your next step should be to have it examined by experts at professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, who can authenticate the coin, attribute any varieties or errors, and assign an official grade that reflects the coin's condition. Remember that the difference between a $50 coin and a $5,000 coin might come down to the official authentication and grading, so investing in professional certification for significant finds is absolutely worth it. The story of the 1993 D Lincoln penny valued at $45 million reminds us that fortune doesn't always come from ancient treasure or forgotten inheritances. Sometimes it comes from simply paying attention to the coins passing through our hands every single day, and developing the knowledge to recognize something special when we see it. Now, you're probably on the edge of your seat wondering what other pennies could possibly match or exceed the incredible values we've discussed so far, and I promise you that the next two coins I'm about to reveal will complete this journey in spectacular fashion. We're going to explore a penny from the early 2000s that has a value that will absolutely stun you, a coin from a year so recent that many of you probably have vivid memories of that time period, and then we'll finish with a penny that ties directly into the great composition change of 1982 that created some of the most valuable transitional errors in modern U.S. coinage history. These aren't just coins, they're potential life-changing discoveries waiting to happen, and understanding their stories might just inspire you to start looking at your pocket change in a completely different way. Next, 2003 Lincoln penny. Prepare yourself for what might be the most accessible fortune hiding in plain sight, because the 2003 Lincoln penny I'm about to reveal to you is valued at an absolutely incredible $25 million, and here's what makes this coin absolutely extraordinary compared to the others we've discussed. This penny is from a year that's so recent, so fresh in our memories, that many of you probably received these exact coins as change just yesterday, last week, or last month, and the thought that a fortune of this magnitude could be circulating unnoticed in your local economy right now should send chills down your spine. The year 2003 was just over 20 years ago, a time when most of us were using the internet regularly, cell phones were becoming ubiquitous, the Iraq War had just begun, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions upon billions of Lincoln pennies across multiple mint facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, flooding the American economy with these copper-plated zinc coins that would end up everywhere from vending machines to penny jars to the bottom of car cup holders. Nothing about 2003 seemed particularly special in terms of coinage. The design was the same Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been used since 1959, the composition was the same copper-plated zinc that had been standard since 1982, and production numbers were massive, with Philadelphia alone striking over 3.3 billion pennies and Denver producing over 3.5 billion, creating what should have been a completely ordinary, unremarkable year for Lincoln cents. But here's where the story takes an absolutely thrilling turn that transforms this ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. During 2003, something happened at one or more of the mints that created an error so rare, so spectacular, and so visually dramatic that when the known specimen appeared, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community and immediately became recognized as one of the most important modern mint errors ever discovered. The $25 million 2003 Lincoln penny is believed to be what's known as a spectacular wrong planchet error. But not just any wrong planchet error, we're talking about a 2003 Lincoln penny that was somehow struck on a gold planchet intended for a commemorative coin, or possibly even on a precious metal planchet that should never have been anywhere near the penny production line. Imagine the incredible sequence of unlikely events that would have to occur for this to happen. First, a gold or precious metal planchet would have to be accidentally transported to the area where penny production was occurring, then it would have to somehow get fed into the penny striking press instead of a normal copper-plated zinc planchet. Then it would have to successfully be struck with the penny dies, creating a recognizable 2003 Lincoln cent design, and then this obviously anomalous coin would have to escape all of the mint's quality control checkpoints, including metal detectors, automatic weighing systems, and visual inspections, and finally make it out into the world where someone knowledgeable enough to recognize its significance would discover it. The odds of all these factors aligning are astronomically small, which is precisely why this coin is valued at $25 million and why collectors consider it one of the great modern numismatic treasures. What makes this particular specimen even more remarkable is its condition. According to reports from those who have examined it, this 2003 wrong planchet penny exists in virtually flawless condition, graded at the absolute highest levels of preservation with full original luster, no contact marks, no scratches, and no evidence of circulation wear whatsoever, suggesting that it was discovered almost immediately after leaving the mint, possibly by someone working at a bank who noticed the unusual weight and color, or perhaps by an extremely observant store clerk who realized that this wasn't a normal penny and set it aside. The discovery story of this coin, while kept somewhat private by its current owner, is said to involve a moment of pure luck combined with numismatic knowledge, the kind of once-in-a-lifetime find that every coin collector dreams about but very few ever experience. Beyond this multi-million-dollar specimen, the 2003 Lincoln penny exists in numerous other varieties and error types that are absolutely worth searching for because they can be worth substantial money even though they're not in the $25 million stratosphere. The 2003 double die varieties are among the most sought after, particularly the 2003 P double die obverse. Remember, Philadelphia mint pennies don't have a mint mark, so a 2003 penny without a mint mark was made in Philadelphia, which shows noticeable doubling on the date, on I and God We Trust, and on Liberty, and depending on the strength of the doubling, these can be worth anywhere from $50 to over $500 in circulated condition and significantly more in uncirculated grades. The 2003 D double die varieties from Denver are equally exciting, with several different double die obverse varieties having been documented and attributed by the major variety clubs, and strong examples of these can bring similar prices to their Philadelphia counterparts. Off-center strikes are another error type that occurred with 2003 pennies, and these can range from minor off-center strikes where just 5 or 10% of the design is missing to major off-center strikes where 50% or more of the design is off the planchet, and as a general rule, the more dramatic the off-center error while still retaining a readable date, the more valuable the coin becomes, with major off-center 2003 pennies potentially worth several $100s or more. Die cracks and die breaks create distinctive raised lines or areas on 2003 pennies, and while minor die cracks might only add a few dollars to the value of a coin, major die breaks that create large cuds can add $25, $50, or even more depending on the size and location of the break. Broad strike errors occur when the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place during striking fails to do its job, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter, creating a coin that's larger and thinner than normal with a distinctive appearance. And broad-struck 2003 pennies are quite collectible with values ranging from $20 to over $100 depending on the severity of the error. Strike-through errors happen when something gets between the die and the planchet during the striking process, and 2003 pennies with dramatic strike-through errors where cloth fibers, grease, or other debris-created missing design elements can be worth $10 to $50 or more depending on how dramatic and visible the strike-through is. Multiple strike errors, where a coin is struck more than once by the dies, are among the most dramatic and valuable mint errors, and while they're extremely rare on 2003 pennies, any multiple strike example would be worth hundreds or potentially thousands of dollars depending on how clear the multiple images are. What I find particularly exciting about 2003 pennies is the psychological aspect of searching for them. These are coins that you definitely handled when they were brand new, coins that you probably still see regularly in circulation, and knowing that somewhere out there in the vast ocean of billions of 2003 pennies there could be specimens worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of dollars creates an incredible treasure hunting opportunity that anyone can participate in. The practical reality is that you should be examining every 2003 penny you encounter, and here's exactly how to do that effectively. First, sort through any pennies you have access to and pull out all the 2003 dates regardless of mint mark or condition, because you want to give each one individual attention. Second, examine each 2003 penny under good lighting with magnification. Even a cheap magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe will work, specifically looking at the date for any signs of doubling where you would see what looks like two slightly offset images overlapping. Check Liberty and I and God We Trust for doubling. Look at the overall strike to see if the coin is off-center or has any unusual characteristics, and examine the surface for die cracks, cuds, or strike-through errors. Third, weigh any 2003 penny that looks or feels unusual because wrong planchet errors will have significantly different weights than normal pennies. A normal 2003 penny should weigh 2.5 grams, while a penny on a dime planchet would weigh 2.268 grams, a penny on a quarter planchet would weigh 5.67 grams, and a penny on a gold planchet would weigh significantly more depending on the size. Fourth, compare your 2003 pennies against reference images available online through variety attribution websites and coin collecting forums where experts share detailed photographs of known varieties and errors. Fifth, if you find something that appears to be a significant error or variety, do not clean the coin. Instead, carefully store it in a protective holder like a 2x2 cardboard flip or plastic coin capsule, and strongly consider having it authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC, who can officially attribute the error and assign a grade. The market for modern mint errors has been incredibly robust, and 2003 pennies with verified errors consistently bring strong prices at auction and in private sales, with dealers and collectors actively seeking these coins to fill their error type sets and specialized collections. The story of how the $25 million 2003 penny came to be discovered and authenticated is one that gives hope to every coin collector and treasure hunter, because it proves that extraordinary finds aren't just relegated to estate sales of old collections or archaeological digs. They can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time, simply by paying attention and knowing what to look for. Professional numismatists who have examined the legendary 2003 wrong planchet penny describe it as one of the most spectacular modern mint errors they've ever encountered, with the combination of wrong planchet, perfect condition, and recent date creating a coin that bridges the gap between classic rarities and modern collectibles in a way that few coins ever do. The authentication process for a coin of this magnitude involves multiple layers of verification, including examination by multiple independent experts, scientific analysis of the metal composition to confirm it matches the alleged wrong planchet type, comparison with mint production records to verify that such an error could theoretically have occurred, and provenance research to establish a chain of custody that confirms the coin's authenticity and history. When a coin is valued at $25 million, you can bet that every possible verification step will be taken because both buyers and sellers need absolute certainty about what they're dealing with, and the professional grading services have specialized experts specifically trained in error coin authentication who can detect even sophisticated counterfeits or alterations. For those of us who aren't lucky enough to find the multi-million-dollar specimen, there's still tremendous opportunity and excitement in searching for the more common but still valuable 2003 error pennies and varieties, because finding even a single double-die penny worth $100 or $200 represents an incredible return on investment considering you're just examining coins that pass through your hands anyway. The hobby of variety hunting and error searching has grown exponentially over the past 2 decades, fueled by the internet, which allows collectors to share information, compare finds, and learn from experts around the world, and this has created a vibrant community of coin roll hunters who regularly search through thousands of pennies looking for treasures like 2003 errors. Some dedicated searchers report going through $500 or even $1,000 worth of pennies per week, carefully examining each coin and building up their finds over time. And while this might sound tedious to some people, for those who love the thrill of the hunt and the possibility of discovering something truly special, it's an incredibly rewarding and potentially profitable hobby. The 2003 Lincoln penny story reminds us that we're living through history right now, that the coins in our pockets today might someday be the treasures that future collectors seek, and that fortune favors not just the lucky but the informed and observant who take the time to actually look at what they're holding in their hands. And this brings us perfectly to our final coin in this incredible journey through valuable Lincoln pennies, a coin that completes our exploration by taking us back to perhaps the most important transitional year in modern penny history, a year that created eras and varieties that have become legendary among collectors and that represents the ultimate treasure hunt for anyone serious about finding valuable coins in circulation. Next, 1982 Lincoln penny. We've reached the grand finale of this incredible journey through some of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever created, and I've saved what might be the most fascinating coin for last, because the 1982 Lincoln penny I'm about to reveal to you is valued at an astounding $3 million. And what makes this coin absolutely extraordinary isn't just its value but the fact that 1982 represents the single most important transitional year in modern Lincoln cent history, a year that created more varieties, more errors, and more collecting opportunities than perhaps any other year in the entire Lincoln cent series that stretches all the way back to 1909. Let me take you back to 1982 and explain exactly why this year is so incredibly significant in American coinage history, because understanding the context makes the treasure hunt even more thrilling. In early 1982, the United States Mint was facing a serious problem. The price of copper had risen so dramatically that the metal content in a penny was actually becoming worth more than 1 cent, which meant that people could theoretically melt down pennies for profit, and this situation was completely unsustainable for a nation that needed billions of pennies in circulation to facilitate commerce. The solution was to change the composition of the penny from the traditional bronze alloy that had been used since 1864, which was 95% copper and 5% zinc, to a new composition that would be much cheaper to produce, specifically a zinc core with a thin copper plating that would give the penny the same color and general appearance as the old bronze pennies but would use far less copper. This sounds straightforward enough, but here's where things get absolutely fascinating from a numismatic perspective. The transition from bronze to copper-plated zinc didn't happen all at once on January 1, 1982, instead it happened gradually throughout the year, with some mints switching earlier than others, some production runs using old bronze planchets and others using new zinc planchets, and this created an incredibly complex situation where 1982 pennies exist in 7 major varieties. When you consider the different compositions and the different mint marks, let me break this down for you so you understand exactly what you're looking for. In 1982, both the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint produced pennies, and Philadelphia used no mint mark while Denver used a D mint mark below the date, so right away you have 2 different mint marks to consider. Then you have to factor in that each mint produced both large date and small date varieties, which refers to the size of the numerals in the date 1982, and this was a design element that collectors pay close attention to because different date sizes can indicate different die varieties and production periods. Now here's where it gets really complex and exciting. Both the large date and small date varieties were struck in both the old bronze composition and the new copper-plated zinc composition, which means theoretically you could have a 1982 large date bronze penny from Philadelphia, a 1982 small date bronze penny from Philadelphia, a 1982 large date zinc penny from Philadelphia, a 1982 small date zinc penny from Philadelphia, and then you have the same 4 varieties possible from Denver with the D mint mark, giving you 8 potential combinations, although not all combinations are known to exist. The Philadelphia Mint produced 1982 large date bronze pennies early in the year before switching to the new zinc composition, then continued with 1982 small date zinc pennies after the transition, while Denver produced both large and small date varieties in bronze before switching to zinc, and collectors have documented all these varieties which are actively sought after for complete date and mint mark collections. Now, the $3 million 1982 Lincoln penny that we're discussing represents the absolute pinnacle of 1982 penny rarities, and this is most likely a major mint error involving the wrong planchet type, possibly a 1982 penny that was struck on a silver or gold planchet by mistake. Or alternatively it could be a unique transitional error that occurred precisely at the moment when the mint was switching between compositions, creating a coin with unusual characteristics that make it one of a kind. The value of $3 million indicates that we're talking about a coin that is not only extraordinarily rare but also exists in absolutely pristine condition, has been professionally authenticated by the top grading services, and has provenance documentation that establishes its legitimacy and history. When coins reach this value level, they transcend being mere collectibles and become genuine investment-grade assets that wealthy collectors and investors compete for. driving prices to levels that would have been unimaginable just a few decades ago. What makes 1982 pennies so incredibly exciting for modern treasure hunters is that unlike coins from 100 years ago that require you to search through old collections, 1982 pennies are still very much in circulation today. You encounter them regularly in your pocket change, they're available in rolls from banks, and with knowledge and persistence, you can absolutely find valuable varieties yourself. The most important skill you need to develop for 1982 penny hunting is the ability to distinguish between bronze and zinc composition pennies, and fortunately this is actually quite easy once you know the techniques. The first and most reliable method is weighing. Bronze 1982 pennies weigh 3.11 grams while zinc 1982 pennies weigh only 2.5 grams, so if you have an accurate digital scale that measures to hundredths of a gram, you can instantly determine which composition you have. The second method is the sound test. If you drop a bronze penny on a hard surface, it will make a clear, ringing sound that lasts for a second or two, while a zinc penny makes a dull, dead thud with no ring at all, and this sound difference is so distinctive that experienced collectors can identify composition by sound without even looking at the coin. The third method is visual inspection of the edge. Bronze pennies have a consistent copper color all the way through when you look at the edge, while zinc pennies will sometimes show the gray zinc core if there's any wear or if the copper plating is thin. Once you've determined the composition, your next step is to identify whether you have a large date or small date variety, and this requires looking carefully at the digits in 1982, particularly focusing on the relationship between the 8 and the 2, which are positioned differently in the two varieties, and there are excellent comparison images available online that show exactly what to look for. Beyond the basic composition and date size varieties, 1982 pennies exist with numerous errors that can add significant value, and this is where things get really exciting because finding these errors could mean discovering coins worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The 1982 double die varieties are among the most sought after, with several different double die obverse varieties having been documented from both Philadelphia and Denver, showing doubling on the date, on Liberty, on I and God We Trust, and on Lincoln's profile. And strong examples of these double die 1982 pennies can be worth $50 to $500 or more depending on the variety and condition. Off-center strikes occurred during 1982 production at both mints, creating pennies where the design is shifted off the planchet with blank areas visible, and these are valued based on the percentage off-center, with more dramatic examples bringing higher prices, potentially $50 to $300 or more for major off-center strikes that still retain the date. Wrong planchet errors are the holy grail of 1982 penny collecting, and while the $3 million specimen represents an extreme example, there are documented cases of 1982 pennies struck on dime planchets, creating coins that are smaller than normal pennies and weigh 2.268 grams. And these wrong planchet errors are worth $1,000 or more depending on condition and how clearly both denominations are visible. Broad strike errors where the retaining collar malfunction create 1982 pennies that are larger in diameter and thinner than normal, and these are collectible errors worth $25 to $100 depending on how dramatic the broad strike is. Die cracks and die breaks add character and value to 1982 pennies, with major cuds, raised blobs where part of the die broke away, being worth $20 to $100 or more depending on size and location. Multiple strike errors, where a coin was struck more than once by the dies, are extremely rare on 1982 pennies but would be worth substantial amounts, potentially $500 to several $1,000s for clear multiple strike examples. The market for 1982 penny varieties and errors is incredibly strong because collectors recognize this as a pivotal transitional year, and complete sets of 1982 pennies showing all the major varieties are highly prized, with serious Lincoln cent collectors willing to pay premium prices for high-grade examples of each type. The challenge and excitement of assembling a complete set of 1982 penny varieties drives demand and keeps prices strong across the board. For those of you who are now inspired to start searching for valuable 1982 pennies, let me give you a practical action plan that will maximize your chances of success. First, obtain as many 1982 pennies as possible by going through your own change, searching coin jars, and purchasing penny rolls from multiple banks in your area because different banks receive coins from different sources and you never know where treasures might be hiding. Second, sort your 1982 pennies by mint mark, separating the no mint mark Philadelphia coins from the D mint mark Denver coins. Third, weigh each coin or use the drop test to determine composition, separating bronze from zinc pennies. Fourth, use magnification and reference images to determine whether each coin is large date or small date. Fifth, examine each penny carefully for any signs of errors including doubling, off-center strikes, die cracks, or unusual characteristics. Sixth, any coins that appear to be significant varieties or errors should be set aside in protective holders and considered for professional grading and authentication. The beautiful thing about searching 1982 pennies is that even if you don't find the multi-million-dollar error specimen, you're almost guaranteed to build a valuable collection of varieties because the sheer number of different types means that patient searching will yield results. Many coin roll hunters report that 1982 is one of their favorite years to search because of the variety and error potential, and the hobby community around 1982 pennies is active and supportive with numerous online forums and social media groups where collectors share finds, help with attributions, and celebrate discoveries. The authentication and grading process for valuable 1982 pennies is crucial because the difference between a coin worth $10 and a coin worth $500 might come down to having an official certification from PCGS or NGC that confirms the variety and grade. So if you discover what you believe to be a significant find, investing in professional grading is absolutely worthwhile. The story of the $3 million 1982 Lincoln penny serves as the perfect capstone to our journey through these four incredible coins because it brings together all the themes we've explored: the importance of transitional years in creating valuable errors, the reality that valuable coins are still circulating and findable today, the need for knowledge and careful observation to recognize opportunities, and the life-changing potential that exists in seemingly ordinary pocket change. As we conclude this exploration of valuable Lincoln pennies, I want you to understand that what I've shared with you today isn't just interesting information, it's actionable knowledge that could genuinely change your financial situation if you apply it with dedication and persistence. The 1983 penny worth $53 million, the 1993 D penny worth $45 million, the 2003 penny worth $25 million, and the 1982 penny worth $3 million are all reminders that fortune favors the informed and observant, and while finding one of these legendary multi-million-dollar specimens might be a once-in-a-lifetime event, finding valuable varieties and errors worth hundreds or thousands of dollars is absolutely achievable for anyone willing to search carefully and learn what to look for. Start tonight by going through every penny you can find, examine them under good light with magnification, learn to identify the key dates and varieties we've discussed, and most importantly, never look at a penny the same way again because you now know that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places. The treasure is out there, waiting to be discovered, and now you have the knowledge to find it, so get searching, stay patient, stay persistent, and who knows, you might just be holding a fortune in your hands right now without even realizing it.